one of the fundamental things that you need to understand is the difference between a private company and a public company. A public company is able to offer its shares to the public. That means that anyone can buy a public company's shares. And the result of that is that public companies are usually listed on the London Stock Exchange, where their shares are freely transferable on the stock market. A private company, however, can only offer its shares to selected investors. Now, the benefit of that for a public company is that they have huge capital raising powers. They can draw on a huge number of people for their financing, whereas a private company, again, as mentioned, only has those selected investors to draw upon. But the result of that is that company law steps in with regulatory requirements in order to protect those purchasers of the shares, those consumers buying the shares. What you need to understand is both that fundamental difference between the public company and the private company, the fact that the public company is able to offer its shares to the public, and what those requirements are to be and operate as a public company. An individual or individuals can incorporate a public company from scratch, or they can convert their private company to a public company. But in both instances, they still need to comply with the same regulatory requirements under company law. So what are those requirements? Let's start with share capital, the amount of money paid for by shareholders when they buy the shares. For a public company, their total allotted share capital, so that's the total nominal value of their shares, must be at least £50,000, known as the authorised minimum. At least 1/4 of that allotted share capital must be fully paid up. Remember that we saw that shareholders can partly or fully pay for shares when they buy those shares or subscribe for shares. For a public company, they require at least 1/4 of that total nominal value of the shares to be paid up. In addition, the whole of any premium of the shares must be fully paid. Just breaking that down, the difference between nominal value and premium, the nominal value is a required minimum amount for the share, usually £1. And the premium is an extra profit amount on the issue of that share. So, for example, a 50p amount on top of the £1, giving a total share price of £1.50. Now, as mentioned, for a public company, the total nominal value, the allotted share capital, must be at least £50,000, with at least 1/4 fully paid up, and the whole of any premium on those shares must be fully paid up. A private company has no such capital requirements. They can set up with just one share with a nominal value of just £1, for example. Doesn't even need to be £1. So they don't have the same stringent share capital requirements. But there are other regulatory requirements that apply to public companies. A public company must have at least 2 directors, whereas a private company only needs 1. A public company must have a company secretary. A private company does not. A public company must have an annual general meeting. A private company doesn't. A public company can't use the written resolution procedure, whereas a private company can. And there are others that you need to commit to memory. So those are the key differences. Public company, able to offer its shares to the public, but the price of that ability to raise finance in that way are those extra regulatory requirements, and those you need to learn as well.